right, well, let's not delay this any longer. I My name's Yasmin Herrera. I work for the Digital Nest, the organization putting on this conference. And I will be the technical moderator, just I'll be in the background. And I have the pleasure of introducing our actual panelist moderator for today. I met him as a Cabrillo college student body president. He's always been, a leader, advocating for himself and other people. And he's he started at the Nest, did a couple things with us, not a couple, a lot of things. He stuck around. Now he's a board member. And honestly, the Nest wouldn't be the Nest without members like Martin. And he's done a bunch of things after that. Became a software developer, a philanthropist, like started, his own giving circle. He's spoken at different things. I mean, he's out there. The list goes on. So I have the pleasure of introducing Martin Vargas Vega. Give it up, y'all.
Thank you, Yasmin. Hi, everyone. So my name is Martin Vargas Vega. It's an honor to be here again. I've been here, I think, 3 times, kind of moderating a panel. So we're just going to dive right into it because we have 4 amazing individuals that you'll get to learn, but some housekeeping stuff just to keep it, just so y'all are informed. I want to say at around 6 p.m. or after like the last panel is, not this one, but like at the program for this day, we're going to be hosting, I think it's called, what is the word? It's like a booth? Yeah, booth for Habu. So if you want to connect with me, if you want to talk a little bit more, we can definitely connect there. I'll talk a little bit about what Habu is, what my journey is and stuff like that. But I just want to make sure that's there in case you want to connect. But we're going to go straight into it, into our panel. I'm really, really excited to moderate this. So I'm going to introduce everyone briefly, just so you all kind of know what we're going to do. I'll introduce them briefly. They'll get to do their pitch for themselves. It'll be, they'll tell their story of how they got to where they are, who they are, and their amazing stories. After that, we'll go into some individual questions. If we have time, each person can maybe take a chance to answer those questions. If we don't, it's totally fine. However, if along the way something inspires you, you feel it, you want to give the virtual snaps, please do, because this panel will be, we can be as engaging as you are with us. So if you're like, hey, I really like what Eduardo said, or I really like what Martin said, or lo que sea, please engage with us. That's kind of how we know. Obviously, I can see if your video's on, I can see your reactions, and maybe we can work off of that as well. Pero we're going to go straight into it. So I'm going to introduce everyone slowly, and then after that, we'll explain why this panel was created. So for the first person, his name is Eduardo Quintero. He's a Strategic Partnerships, Retail, and Payments at Google Play. También tenemos Joshua Gutierrez, a Career Pathways Manager at Netflix. We have Andres Sion, a sales manager at LeapWork. We have Areli Miranda Gonzalez, the Senior Product Manager at YouTube, Google/Alphabet. And they're going to introduce themselves. They're super, super amazing. But some context of why this was even started. So for most of you, depending on where you are in your path, you're either in tech and have a job, or you're looking to be in the tech. And the reason why we created this is we want to be either the baseline for all of you so that y'all can just blow us out of the water. Because I remember coming up when I joined the Nest and I had no idea what a job in technology was. I just knew I wanted to be in it. I said, I'll clean the windows, I'll take out the trash, lo que sea, and to do, and I would do whatever I needed to do to be part of tech. And I remember when I would attend events, I never really saw anyone that looked like me. So cuando iba and I saw people talking, I'm like, oh, they like tacos, I can do it. Like that, I would try to attach myself to whatever they said, whether it was they like tacos, if they like manda, or they like whatever, right? Because I never saw anyone that was Latino, that was Mexican, that was first gen, that worked in the fields, that had parents that were from Mexico. I never had anyone like that. So, whenever I could even just attach myself a little bit, it gave me the slightest hope that I'm like, oh, I think I can do this. Now we're gonna bring you 4 amazing people that hopefully you all can relate to, whether it's their careers, whether it's what they like to do outside of work, whether it's what they like to do in work, lo que sea, and hopefully you all, yes, exactly. You can't be what you can't see. So with that, I'll open it up. Whoever wants to go first to really just say who they are, what they're doing, where they're from. If not, I can kind of choose someone. Does anyone want to like go first? Just because of, okay, I'll do this. Through my little squares, Eduardo, you're first, and then Arely, you're next.
Perfect. Thank you, Martin. Thanks for the intro. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Eduardo Quintero Cruz, and I work at Google. I've been working at Google for 10 years last week, which is crazy to think about that. I was born and raised in Monterrey, Mexico. First time that I moved out of home, I guess, out of my house, I was about to turn 17. And haven't lived back in Monterrey since, but I'm lucky enough that I get to see my parents and my whole family on a regular basis, and that I can spend time with them and that I can eat, right? I love food. I love Mexican food more than anything, and it's the second thing that I love. I can't say that I love food more than I love my family, because it wouldn't be true, but I do love the food. And at Google, I work in Google Play. So I work in strategy, and I own the strategy behind forms of payments for Google Play in Mexico. So I own Mexico as a territory, and I get to go to Mexico for work, which I love. It's one of my favorite things. Happy to share more here in a little bit, but I'll pass it on.
Gracias, Eduardo. Arely, yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Arely Miranda Gonzalez. I have to say, I just love being able to say my name and knowing people will get it and not have to be, wait, say what? Because that always happens to me and it's very annoying. I'm from Mexico City. Was born, not completely raised there, but that's where I feel I'm from. I'm a senior product manager at YouTube. I'm responsible for trust and safety, the part of trust and safety. That basically has to do with how we educate creators, which are right now about for more than like 3 billion users, which is insane to think about that scale for YouTube. I guess we'll chat more about the career part. What I can say is I've been very passionate about the space. That was not what I started doing. I studied political science and international relations, and I worked on completely different things. And I sort of worked my way up from the very bottom to where I am now. So I'm always happy to share stories about that sort of battle of putting yourself out there. And I know everybody here feels like, we're underrepresented, and I really think we are. I feel like being Latina as well is even more underrepresented. So, and being in also the tech space, the more technical side. So I definitely empathize with people who feel they're the only ones in the room. Happy to share a lot of stories around those sort of moments.
Gracias. Andrés?
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Andres. I am originally from Ecuador, and I'm really excited to chat here and share a little more about my story, because I also was in a point in my life where I didn't know what to do. And I came here to the United States about 6 years ago, and technology was not even on the roadmap as an option. But I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with what you can accomplish with it and what it means for us, for humans to use it. So yeah, one of the things that I will share later on is that there are a lot of options when it comes to being in a technical side of tech, but I explore a little more about the sales side of technology and interacting with people and how you can help others to solve problems. So that's what I'll talk later on today, and why I love what I do right now. Martin?
Gracias. And not last but not least, Joshua.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for inviting me to speak. It's so good to see everybody here. Actually, Eduardo, I don't know if you remember, but like I met you like 7-8 years ago at Google. We were actually a part of Hola, and we were at a Hola Leadership Summit. So it's so funny to see all these full circle things happening, which is really exciting. But yeah, my name is Joshua Gutierrez. I manage our Pathways engagement programs here at Netflix. As I just mentioned, I used to be at Google. I was there for about 8 years. But yeah, for me, my story, I was born and raised and miseducated here in California, born and raised in Southern California, actually, which is why I wore my Lake Show hat. Unfortunately, I know many of you are probably Warriors fans, but it's okay. It's all love, Cali love. I went to school at California State University, San Bernardino. Actually did my undergraduates there, and then I was a teacher for several years. And my pathway led me all over the place. So I was a teacher. Then actually from teaching, I went into recruiting, and I was recruiting for a nonprofit in Boston. And that was where I met some Google recruiters who actually recruited me to go recruit with Google. And so I started recruiting, and that really launched my whole career in tech. And I think the big key advice and piece that I'm really here to offer to all of you is, you have advocates in this space and people who are here for you and who really want to connect the dots for you. And I think that part of my career has been the most impactful, is that I've just learned to use this Latinidad that I have inherently in me, which is to build relationships, care about people, and connect the dots for them and for our people. So I'm here for all of you as you want to learn more. We have so much advice you're going to hear from these amazing folks. So thank you all again for inviting me. Last thing I'll say here is, during my work here at Netflix, I actually build programs for students from underrepresented backgrounds and universities. So my job is to make sure to help you all find roles in this tech industry. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. Regardless of what happens here, I'm here for anything that you might need. Seriously, I have office hours. My job is to literally help you all find opportunities. So I'll add that into the chat, but I'm excited to keep talking.
Awesome. Well, y'all are amazing. What I will say is, for any of you that are here, like listening, if anything resonates with you, please, type it in the chat. If you have a question, I think there's you can ask, I think Yasmin, if you don't want to put it in the chat, and she can funnel it to me. So if that's something that you want to ask, please do. Also, I think somewhere on our platform, if you click on the description of this workshop, you can find all of our LinkedIns. I checked, I think before, all of our panelists have our LinkedIns there. So feel free to connect. I think for all of us, we'll be actively checking it within the next 2 days. So if you make a connection to us, we'll accept it. We can start something there, or take it offline, como sea. It's on the tab. Okay. Oh, thank you, Yasmin. Awesome. Thank you. Cool. So now with this, Josh, we led us into, this is a question for all of you. When did tech become a thing in your life? When did you know? Or did it just happen by accident? What was your journey? Your first tech job? What did that look like? This can be for anyone. I know this can be for anyone, and if not, I'll pick someone to share their story. We get it.
I can just quickly dive in here, just because I was already talking about it. But yeah, for me, it was really, and I think the way I look at it, it's kind of like a bigger picture, and part of my career too, is that, I would have never seen myself at a Google ever in my life. When I went to Cal State San Bernardino, my whole thought process was I don't even know what I was thinking. Honestly, I went to college because I was told I was supposed to go to college. I barely got into college, and I went to school at Cal State San Bernardino because it was close to my home. And it was during that time that, I think that experience in college was where I started to really figure out the values I had and the things that I cared about. And the things I cared about was service. The things I cared about was people, building relationships. I didn't really know what a skill set was, or a job, or all these things, right? And then as time went on, I just had to start saying yes, because I actually graduated during the recession the first time. Hopefully we'll be okay this year, but in 2008 was in the recession. And during that time, I was, it was really scary. So I had this opportunity to apply for this teaching job, and I just went for it. I said yes. And I think the big part of my career is that, and I think the story of how I got into tech is that it's this real winding journey. So even right now, wherever you are in your pathway and what you're doing, it might, you might take a job, or you might take a contract work, or you might take some sort of type of something that you're like, this isn't exactly leading towards what I really want to do. But if you follow those values and that purpose and the things that you care about, it will lead you to that place. And so ultimately, when I got into Google and I started working in tech, it was because I was working so focused on this education world. And that was the journey I was taking slowly but surely. So when I got to Google, I actually started as what was called Engineering Practicum Recruiter. And so I was recruiting for students from underrepresented backgrounds at universities. And it was at that time when I got to Google where I was like, oh my gosh, we're recruiting like lots of Latinos, but we're not recruiting from schools like where we're not recruiting from schools like where I went to school from, the Cal States. Like we were looking at all these elite universities. And so I'll talk more about that later, but that was my introduction to tech, is just this fact that it's like a very winding road and you don't always start right where you think you're going to start. Like I think it was Andres was saying this earlier. He's like, he wasn't even looking at tech. So it's just funny how these career pathways can work.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else?
I can share a little bit.
You wanna, go ahead. Yeah, go, please.
So I mentioned I studied political science, completely unrelated. And I worked in the UN for some years and I realized, man, like, it's really hard to have an impact here. I felt so removed from the work like the actual impact of what I wanted to do. But it was very clear to me that there was one thing I cared about, and it was social impact, like positive social impact. That's the only thing I knew I wanted. And when I started working in YouTube, I came into this team that didn't exist back then called Trust and Safety. It's a different name. And like, basically I realized pretty quickly that it was about keeping people safe online. So it was also social impact, but like in a very different landscape. But the difference is I could see the impact right away. And so I pretty much just became in love with the mission itself. And the job kind of was a side product of me following the mission. It's not very different from what Joshua was saying. Like there was something I cared deeply about and the job just happened. Like it didn't happen. I fought for it. And and from there, I've worked really hard to figure out what I wanted to do afterwards and sort of carved out roles for myself. And then eventually became a product manager, which was this whole other thing because I didn't know that was a career when I was studying my degree. Like it wasn't an option to me. And so even finding that and deciding that my skill set fit that career was a huge relief. So yeah, I would just say it's very much linked to something that is like in your gut that you feel you want to, like you believe in. It's almost like a value. And if you stay true to that, you'll find a job that fits that value.
Awesome. That's so true. I think you also touched on something, and it's like a lot of the jobs that are created, they're reflective of what the demand is. And sometimes when you're going to school, they don't really teach you what the demand is. You just have to be open to, the possibilities that you don't even know they're there. You just have to be open to them when you get them. And sometimes you might be a little scared to like, what is this? Like, this is never on a job board. I've never seen this job before. So very true. Andres or Eduardo, before we move on to the next kind of phase of our panel.
Yeah, I can go next. So when it comes to tech, like I said, that was not even an option for me before. And I think what really caught my attention about finding a place in this space is that I personally love to help people, and I've been a huge volunteer my entire life. And I remember that Salesforce is one of the technologies that was huge at the time, just growing super fast here, especially here in the Bay Area. And I remember a lot of stories from nonprofits benefit from this technology, being able to connect better with the donors, being able to raise more money so they can deliver a bigger impact in their communities. And I started to figure out, what is this? Like, how does this work? And then I fell in love with helping people using this to accomplish their own missions. And that's how it started. I started just learning by myself more about this, talking to people, networking with people that are already in the space to see how life is and how they did it. So that's how it started. And then, I think I wanted to be an engineer at some point, but I discovered that what really drives me, and I think that many people have shared already here, Joshua early, is that what motivates me and what moves me and what my calling was is to interact with people and trying to understand what is it that they really want to accomplish and bring a solution or a technology that can help them get there. So that's for me, that was how I found the path to where I am today.
Awesome. Gracias, Andres. Now we're going to shift a little bit, right? So now we kind of give you all a little bit of nuggets of, how the journey started for some of us. Eduardo, I'm going to ask you a question now. And this is, we're going to try to fiddle on into this, but now you, let's say you got your job now, right? You got it at your first position. How do you make an impact? Because I think something that I think everyone here will resonate, and you've already heard it. For a lot of the times, we're one of one or one of 3 or 5, right? There's not a lot of Latinos that are in these positions. Eduardo, I know you can speak to this because I'll let you answer, but you played a huge role in developing the ERG at Google. First of all, explain what an ERG is, what it's kind of built and designed, how if once you're in a company like that, or of any company, right, whether it's Netflix, Facebook, or whatever, how someone can use that to really help them and kind of your journey along with it, right? Both on the leadership side, because I think that also happens a lot for a lot of the Latinos that go into these companies. Not only do you try to do your job, for some reason we are pressured to be like, you have to be a leader as well in something else, right? Do something outside of your job. So can you just share a little bit about that? Just because I know there's also employment in those roles as well. So.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. That's a good question. An ERG, an employee resource group. What is it? That's a loaded question, but I love it. I think that the best way that I can describe it is it's something that has the potential to become your family, right? What I mean by this, when I first started at Google, it was the very, very beginning of the conversations of OLA, which is the Global Employee Resource Group at Google. I had never, working in tech had never crossed my mind, not even remotely. I'm a chemical engineer, so nothing that has to do with tech. And very quickly, even though I was lucky to have a very nice team, very good group of people, I realized that in one way or another, I was alone, right? And it wasn't because they were bad people or anything. It's just that a lot of the things that I was feeling, a lot of the things that I was dealing with were just not relatable to them. I was very, very lucky to meet 2 people, and Joshua, you'll remember them, Roberto Paniagua and Eliana, very early on when the initial conversations of launching the CRG started happening. And I still remember the very first summit that we had. I think it was like 15 of us in LA. And I think that whenever I first went into this event, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to meet some people. We'll see what happens. And it wasn't until I actually started having conversations with them that it hit me how impactful this could be, right? Now, fast forward 10 years, a lot of the opportunities that I've had at Google have been because of this, have been either because of people that I have met in these resource groups. They have been because of roles in leadership that I've taken in these groups. It has been because of volunteering opportunities and events and summits and different type of connections like this that I've made in these groups. Like I said, a lot of these professional opportunities have come from there, but also a couple of my closest friends in my life now have come from these groups as well, right? So again, I cannot say it enough how important this can be. And for anything and everything from, hey, I actually don't know how to do this that my manager is asking me to do for the first time, can you help me out, or can you put me in contact with someone that may know how to do this, all the way to, hey, you know what, my manager just doesn't understand me. I'm having a super bad experience with them. I feel like I'm being treated unfair, or anything along these lines. Then you can have a conversation with this group. You can have a conversation with some of these folks that have likely either experienced something similar or know someone that has experienced something similar, and they become a gigantic resource for you. All right, so I think that I've been really impacted by this, and I've been very lucky that I've always really enjoyed my job. I started at Google in sales, and I fell in love with it desperately, but I very quickly saw that as fun as it wasn't something that was making me feel good about myself in a I'm helping someone type of way, right? And growth was happening, and professional recognition was happening, but I still felt a little bit on the emptier side, right? Like I felt like my parents work with people, and a lot of the really cool things that I would see in the interactions that my parents had with other folks is something that I wasn't feeling and I wasn't seeing for me. Until I started getting more involved with these ERG groups, and that allowed me to start doing something on the side of my day-to-day job that, yeah, it's additional work and it may be tiring and exhausting at times, but at the end of the day is what was fueling me to continue going, right? Because it's something that I was deeply, deeply passionate about. Now, again, fast forward a few years ahead, and I've started some of the programs that now we use globally at Google for Nooglers, right? One of the biggest ones that we have is Google, we call the new people Nooglers, and it's for Latinx Nooglers with 13 months or less in the company. And this is a program that is focused completely on retention, completely on belonging, and leveraging your Latinidad, right? And one of the most incredible things that I've seen from these type of programs is the connections have been fantastic, but I've experienced so many times where when someone comes to me or when someone is making a comment saying, I had never felt connected with this side of myself, right? I had always had to either feel like I had to hide a little bit my Latinidad because I don't want to be the Latino that is loud and that is thought of as a person that just wants to have fun, right? And those special moments have been so meaningful to me. And again, everything started with just that ERG, the idea of an ERG group, and just maybe going a little bit outside of my comfort zone to start spending time with these people and start doing impactful work with these people, right? So I think that ERGs can be tremendously impactful in every single kind of way. And if you have an opportunity to either connect with them before getting into a company, because they can also be a resource for people outside of the company, right? Trying to come in. So if you can connect with ERGs, even when you're outside of the company, or once you're inside of the company, I believe that it can be a tremendous help to you.
Eduardo, thank you so much. I mean, look, the information you're sharing is huge, even for those that, yeah, I'll look at the Q&A. Even for those that, this information for all of you here, let's say you're not in a position right now where you're employed or you're about to be employed. These are things that you can bring into your company. These are also resources you can look at. I've heard, and I think everyone here has heard this, I wish I would have known this sooner, right? They're like, there is this company and they're like, there's these resources and simple things like, a resource group, or simple other things like time off and medical insurance, right? And those are, at least hopefully for our goal for us, is with all the information that you gain from today, whether it's your first job or your next job or lo que sea, that it'll make that much experience so much more, right? Because now you have 5 personas giving you that information to really help you succeed. Cool.
Can I throw something out there real quick, Martin? Can I say something real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's just so funny because there's so many things about ERGs that I love. And I just want to say, like, it literally created my career. So I just want to tell a quick story. So Eduardo just mentioned someone named Eliana. She was she's one of my closest friends. She's a crazy person. She pulled me into a room, forced me to be part of Hola. Like when I first got to Google, she was like, no, you need to come to this meeting. And through that relationship, what was interesting is I was complaining about why aren't we recruiting from Hispanic serving institutions? Why aren't we getting more Latinos into these tech programs? Blah, 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 blah. And literally somebody in Hola was like, well, just do it. And I'm like, what do you mean just do it? They're like, yeah, just get Hola people to come to campus and do recruiting. And I'm like, you can just do that? And I'm not even kidding. I'm not going to tell the full story, but it became my full-time job. I literally got my full-time job from my work I was doing in the employee resource group because we found out there was a gap and we weren't recruiting from these amazing Hispanic serving institutions across the country. And the university programs team at Google was like, hey, you should just do this full-time for our team. So because of the work in an employee resource group, it turned into my full-time job, and there's so many people there that supported me along that journey. And yeah, and then just the last part of that is just like thinking about, it's so cool to see Eduardo here. Like, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, like people who have literally come before us to build these spaces for us, and the challenges and the work they've gone through. Like, these ERGs are so valuable to your career. I can't, state it enough. Like, I can't wait for you to get to your company and start to get involved with them.
Awesome. All right, I know we're running out of time and everything flew by, so we're gonna do a little lightning round with all of you, just so you all can kind of explain what you do at your job, what's like the coolest thing you've done at your job in your position, and then after that we'll do Q&A. Arely, thank you so much for answering the Q&A. With that, Arely, do you want to go first? Like, what obviously you can read your title, but what do you do, and what's like the coolest thing you've done, either in this role or in a previous role, that you're like, when I see my abuelita, I tell her, mira, abuelita, I did this, or whoever.
Yeah, so I mentioned I'm a product manager in trust and safety, which is really broad. I'll start with the coolest thing I've done, and it was actually very early in my career. When I joined, I wasn't technical at all, but I came across child sexual abuse imagery on YouTube, and it really traumatized me. It was like a really freaking hard day, and I went home and I was like pretty much crying about it, and I was like, there's two paths. I quit right now, I can't handle this, or like, this is it, this is something and I basically went back and I kind of did this pitch that I still have. I'm still really proud of it, but I pitched it to my manager. By the way, I was a TVC back then. Like, I wasn't a full-time employee at Google. And I kind of pitched that we should basically find the copies of this content. Like, why are we not doing this automatically? I don't get it, And eventually my pitch got me a full-time role, that got me to be able to work with an engineer, that got me to be able to review, build, and help train with this engineer and get the approvals to have the first at-scale classifier that detected child sexual abuse imagery that gets reported to the police. And so for me, out of all the things that I've done, which are a lot of really cool things that I'm proud of, that thing and the amount of advocacy that it went into pitching that this was the right thing to do is like one of the things that I'm going to take forever with me. And, people, I'm not going to be like telling everyone, you all know now, but I'm just really proud of that. Yeah.
That's amazing, especially, for all of us, right? As we go into this digital space, that's huge. Wow. All right. Whoever wants to go next, and then we'll do Q&A after. So, coolest thing you've done at your job. It can be anything. I'll go with Andres.
Coolest thing that I have done. Yeah, so I think when I was part of Okta, there's another company. It's a cybersecurity company, and basically, just to give a little context, so that people can understand, Okta is the login of things like ChatGPT, or if you buy something from JetBlue, a ticket, that when you log in, that's Okta. So I think something cool about it is that there was a huge breach in one of the big companies in Texas. And what this means is that there is the data of people is a risk, And I think what I love about it is that when you train in sales, you can either say you can do this way, or you can use this that can really, really help you. So when I talk to these people and I told them about how Okta can really help them and move them in all the way to, here's where we are, we're having so many problems, this is weird, or our job's at risk, to we're doing well, thank you so much. And seeing that transition from desperation to gratitude, I think that's something that I really enjoy seeing.
Awesome. Joshua or Eduardo?
I'll just say I already said mine. Like, I literally, thanks to the work that Eduardo and so many people at Ola did, I was able to turn something that I was cared about into a full-time job. So I'm just so grateful for that. And I just want to add one thing too. I also had a chance to help create the Latinx Student Leadership Summit at Google, which is just something that's so meaningful to me. And it just happened last weekend. And so see all these students still doing the Latinx Student Leadership Summit and see that legacy, so special for me. So yeah, Pastor Eduardo.
What's the coolest thing that I've done at Google? I think that I can give a lot of answers that will lead to up to that category. I think that my favorite is probably Navigate Juntos. This is the program that I mentioned that focuses on new people and nuclears. And I know that we're running out of time, but I can tell you super quickly how it started. And it started with at an OLA summit, basically where I met Joshua a couple of years ago. And we had these two guys that work in Ann Arbor. And they were telling us they were brand new to Google. They were telling us that they were ready to quit. Right? These are two guys that have been dreaming about working at Google their whole life. They have been working for it, and they were having a really bad experience with their manager. And they shared with us that that there was a group of Latinas in Ann Arbor, and that most of them having this really bad experience. And putting on this crappy hat on our side, we were able to secure a little bit of budget. And when I say a little bit of budget, I mean $500. We rented a van, and we had 14 of them drive from Ann Arbor to the Chicago office. We didn't have budget, so we didn't have a place for them to stay. We asked one of our friends from Google also if people could crash in their floor. And we were having the sessions at the Google office while cooking meals for each other. Right? It was a very unique experience, something that I have never seen before, and even less so at a company as massive as Google, right? But it was really good. It was incredible, and the feedback that the program, or at that moment we didn't know it was a program, but the feedback that we got was so great that for next year we got $200,000 to do this exact same thing. Right, which of course changed everything. Right, now we're bringing people globally to LA. Now we have this big event with special speakers, and now we have a full-on programming, as opposed to we're just trying to have conversations. Right, like the very first time that we did this, we didn't really know what we were doing, and I'm not saying that the second year we did, but at first we were just trying to help some people that seemed like nice humans, right, and we wanted them to stick around. So we were able to do that the next year, and now it's, like I mentioned, it's a global program that basically focuses on people being able to show up to their job as their best selves in whatever that may mean to everyone, right? And help them and allow them to be successful at whatever they're passionate about. And it's something that we still do every year, and it's additional work, but I love it. I'm super passionate about it. I think that's my favorite.
Awesome. So ya sé que we only have 4 more minutes left, so with the time, first I just want to thank all of our panelists. Thank you all for showing up. I know it's end of the workday, but you all decided to show up here. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it, and thank you all for being here. If you all have any questions, anyone here that attending, please, we're seeing your questions, we're answering them as well. ¿Qué más? La última cosa es, please use us as a connection. I'll say this, we believe in, the nest, we believe in helping more, creating a diverse workforce, and that's why we're here. So please use us, please connect with us. If we don't respond the first time, just spam us, just know that we're here to help you out. There's a multitude of information we could have said, but just know that we're here because we knew what the struggle is, and we know what the struggle still is. But we obviously want to change that. Hopefully you all can just, connect to some of us. You've met 5 amazing individuals with 5 different pathways of how they got to and what they do at, in their job. If I could give you all an advice on how to reach out to them, is just say, hey, Eduardo, te mire, I saw you spoke at this event. Can I talk to you a little bit more? Right? And then from there, just start it, right? Be like, hey, you're from, I love traveling. Lo que sea. We're here to help you out. And with the last couple minutes, I'm going to scroll for the panelists. If there's any closing words you want to say, this is the time. I don't see any questions.
I want to say something before. Did I interrupt anyone?
Yep.
Here? I'm sorry.
No. But you have like
No?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
You get a minute to do
Okay.
it.
Yeah, okay, it'll be less than a minute. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that I think what helped me find an opportunity in tech when there were not as many is being able to ask. You know, Martin was just shared that spammers, I mean, we are really here to help you and to support you in any way that we can. So I don't think anybody would be upset if you just ask for a little bit of support to guide you, to help you, to do anything for you to also find a spot in tech if this is what you want to do. So just want to share that.
Gracias. Anyone else? Any words of wisdom?
I can jump in real quick, and I think that everybody on the call, everybody on the panel has alluded to this in one way or another already, but I think that's something important to remember is that even though this is tech, we're still humans, and that human connection is super important, right? And it's super important, like I said, to open doors for support, for help, right? So when we're saying feel free to reach out and ask for help, I think that we're doing it because at one point or another we've been helped, right? And someone has done this for us as well. So I just wanted to leave you with that.
And I just want to say, just to add on to that, you know, I think the other thing too is we've all been in these situations where we've been only in the room. I can just say that I know that these folks on this panel, and the reality is I heard some amazing advice at one point that you're not the imposter when you're in a room. You're the voice that was missing. So like, remember that as you're going to these spaces, like you have that voice and you're the only person that can really bring that voice sometimes because you are the only. So just remember that.
And then, Arely, I will give you the last momento if you want to say anything.
I'll just reiterate what I put on chat. I think it's so important that you feel really good about who you are and about being that one person that just looks really different. It's just so empowering. Like, you know, own it, feel good about it, like advocate for yourself, get somebody else to help you feel good when you don't feel good. So like, seriously, reach out to us. You know, I have lots of chats with people, mostly on Fridays, when they just want to like share something in their journey or where they're going. So I'm just super happy to do that. I had people who did that for me. It's just about paying it back. So yeah, advocate for yourself.
Gracias. Cool. I thought we were going to get kicked out, but I'm thankful that we didn't. So with that, I think there's another panel. Again, gracias. Thank you to all of you, Joshua, Andres, Arely, Eduardo. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Our LinkedIns are somewhere in this thing. Feel free to reach out. Y con eso, gracias. Thank you all.